let's look actually through what we just did to explain this. We basically did two things. We actually, let's actually go back to the code and explain this real quick. So, she close this. And this. So basically what we were trying to do was when I actually hit a wall, I wanted to have a health factor or like a health tool being applied to the player. So the player is actually losing health whenever hits a wall. So right now, for instance, the health is at 34. So the player hit the wall quite a bit. Now we hit it again. It goes down to 30, right? And it depends on how hard we hit it. So the main thing that we had to do was to actually, when we did the check wall collision, we are actually, let me just close this. And so we're actually calculating health total here. And we're actually returning that already, but we weren't using this before. So we basically needed to just subtract the health total basically from the current player health. And now we did that. And so basically we are good now. And the other thing we did basically was just to increase this factor to actually take a little more health away from the player. So, and that's what I was just about to check in when I realized the sound was off. So we explained this in way more detail. By the way, this is episode 47, since I did say that without the mic being on. So now I'm just going to check this in. That's what I was just about to do. So, check that in. And hold on, this one. I hate this when this happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the terminal and I'm going to just amend this commit, right? Because this belongs to that commit. So now we got that checked in. And now the goal of this episode was to actually build a little indicator here on top that would show us the player health. And we actually had this before, so this should be fairly easy. We just basically need to hook it up. And that was the reason why I basically wanted the player to take a toll when it hits the wall, so we can easily just test this without having two players and so on, right? So let me just make this a little smaller here. Okay, so now what we're going to do, so we need to somewhere, whenever we sync actually, it makes most sense whenever we sync to actually update the player health. The player health can have a little delay, right? So even if we hit the wall and we take the toll immediately, we don't necessarily have to update this. That's one way. The other way would be every time when the health changed, whenever we update this model here, we could have, instead of this being a field, right, we could make this a getter or setter with the setter and all these things. And then we could have a function basically that adds something, right? But basically we already had something called stats, I think, right? So these stats basically need to just be updated whenever, and we already kind of doing this here, right? So we have stats, and that's the other way to do this. So basically, whenever we get the synchronization from the client server, sorry, and the player that we just got the data about is our player, then we basically add the updated stats. So we basically just derive the stats from the player model, and that's another way to do it. But then obviously we only apply our health state whenever the server syncs, which basically in a way makes sense because then we know at least like we're mirroring the state that the server has about us, right? So what we need to do is we need to go to this, to actually our game here, and you can see that we already had the stream builder set up with stats and all these things. And we're pretty close then. All we need to do then is basically to say, we're going to add that back in. And we just need to basically, this is already a stack. So we can just easily put that on top. So the stack is basically a thing that in Flutter where you can put things on top of each other. So if we basically put this this canvas, right, that's rendering our game below, right, the game widget with the gesture detector, and then we put this last, right. So that means that our health thing will basically be displayed on top of the our game, basically, right? We want it to basically be rendered here on top of it. Now let me see. It's complaining about certain things. So right, because this game model doesn't exist, this is actually more like the client game state. So let's see if we have that already here. So we have the client game, and then we have the client game state. You can see that here, right? And so that is basically here we're actually passing the client game in. So I wonder if we can get the state from the game. Otherwise, game dot. Actually get rid of this for now. So we have the client player, but we don't have the state. Let's see, where is the client? So let's actually look at our game. Oh no, that's not what we wanted. Let's actually look at this client. That's what I wanted to go to. Okay. So it shows us, so this game is actually on it, right? So this actually should be a public field, the client game state. So that's probably the cleanest way to get it, right? Instead of referencing it directly. So, dot game, kind of weird. And then basically, let's see, there should be stats. So we have add stats, and we have the stats, and we have a stats stream. So we should actually have a stats stream, except this is stream. Okay, and oh, we named it update. We added here one more, but this is actually it. So what I don't like is why this is called game. Right? It's not the game, it's a game state. So let's rename that. That was actually very confusing. Cool thing is, like, with these languages, you can easily just rename stuff if it is confusing. So very quickly. So this is renaming this as stats. And let's see what it's complaining about. So the HUD widget is something that we already built, and I'm not going to go into details about that. In some previous episode, you can find all the detail about this, but basically it's a widget that has, at this point, it only has a row with a health widget, but we could add more. Basically, HUD is just like a heads-up display, right? And it will have the stats in it and stuff. It may have more things in it, and then basically there's a health widget, and you can kind of see here that all we're doing is, depending on what the player's health is, we are showing basically a bar, and you'll see that once we get it working. And then actually we change the colors depending on how bad the state of the players. Now what I don't understand is why it is complaining so much here. So let's see. So the stats are here. So this is not. So this would be game, right? And then it would be current stats. That's where we want to start. Obviously, when we need to have some. We need to have some way of saying, like, we want the. And we can have initial stats or something. For now, let's do that. That's probably simpler. Where we basically just say that once we start out, we haven't heard anything yet about the player, right? And so we just say the stats are basically the health is, and now we're referring to game props, which I don't like too much. But it's in a static, so let's allow us to do it. And we're gonna say dot. Oh, come on! Completion never works if it's not 100%. The code if code has errors, it doesn't work, which I don't like too much. Okay, so now we get initial, and we need to return this, And so now we can say stats.initial. Okay, now it's complaining a little less. The HUD widget, once a stats model that even still exists. Okay, so we actually re-implemented something we already had. See that? I didn't know this was still around, so it had been a while since we implemented this. So actually what we want to do though is they want to get stats instead, and just rename it to stats. And then it's basically health. Okay, so unfortunately that other stats thing now, we can delete that, right? Don't need that anymore. And it's not really, I wouldn't call it a model, because in a way it is a model, but it's just a derived data for our HUD widget, right? It's not really a model, so to speak, because it's derived from another model. It's derived from the player model and maybe from other models in the future. So this seems to work now. So let's just actually, okay, let's call it no. Okay, so it looks like we may actually have to restart. Okay, now we have a health here. See that? So and now if we hit something, we should slowly update, right? So we can see that we don't really update anything, right? This is not really re-rendering correctly. So let's see why that is. So we got the snapshot, we got this stats thing, which exposes stream, and then every time we add stats when we get stuff from the player, from the server, right? But we're saying that if the stats equals the current stats, then return. Let's remove that for a second, and let's see if that maybe is a problem. Okay, I've never seen that before. Interesting. Let's just do this way. So we should actually... So we're not getting any updates. I'm actually going to put a log. See what's going on. Let's think about this. Right. Interesting. I'm not sure why this is not really working. Let's put a log. So when we're actually syncing, adding stats, right, we just want a log here. And again, we need to take some time and actually clean up these things, like where I don't like too much that we have to create a new logger, like that we can't just like categorize the logger, for instance, right? Okay, so we never seem to update the stats, right? Maybe the problem is here with the ID and the client ID not matching. Right, so let's relaunch this again. Okay, so here's the problem, right? See that? Null. The client ID, which is passed in here, is not passed in correctly, because we're creating this without the ID. See that? And that's where, again, we had to disable our required statements because they don't work on the server. And now we're paying the price a little bit. So now we should actually see, Yes, see that? Now our health clearly got less. Okay, good. Okay, good. Cool. So this is good. We can now remove our log statement. So now we can say we fixed updating. So now we're basically showing a health bar, right? Which is kind of cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change our simple log level. Our simple level, not log level, to have 2 players, and then I'm going to have 1 player shoot the other. It says restart this guy, and we're going to HUD restart this guy, and then we're going to need another player. And then we have them shoot each other, and then we'll see that hopefully the other one will take a toll. And while this is launching, this way already launches now, we can actually check this in. So we remove the stats model. Actually, yeah, that's already part of the commit. Here we basically hooked up the widget, right? We fixed a bunch of stuff, but not too much. So basically all we have to do is check this and accept this one. And then say that stats, or we can say HUD, actually it's stats, right? Player health synced correctly and displayed in a HUD, right? And so the HUD basically will update every time we sync from the player, from the server. And so let's see. Now what I want to see is if I have this other game. So now we have this. So now over here, I'm this guy, right? See that? I'm a guy on the right. I'm going to shoot this guy on the left. Now on the left here, we should see that the health is updating. See that? Okay, very good. Now we can see that it takes me 5 times to shoot this guy. Now he's dead. Obviously now we can still move and all these things because we didn't implement the part yet where, player's dead. Now I want to see something. If I hit a wall, now I'm not taking any toll. That is really odd. Huh. That is the oddest thing. That is the oddest thing. Obviously, the other problem is that we actually hit each other without anything happening. So I'm going to shoot this guy. Okay, look at this. This guy is not getting hit at all. Is not taking a toll here for some reason. This is like the weirdest thing. Oh, there was something. Okay. Okay, so here we have the problem. We did a... Let's do a hard restart here. Now, obviously this is waiting for players, so we have to do a hard restart on the other end as well. I don't even know where my server is running now. It disappeared. Shoot this guy. Takes a toll. If I move this guy and I hit a wall. Okay. So it's some issue of when the hot restart, right? When we do the restart, it's not working. So we actually need to fix that too. But basically now we proved that this actually works. So what I want to do first, I want to fix that. I want to fix that stats thing. Listening to that, I want to be able to listen multiple times. I don't want to. So you can see that we are creating this as a broadcast stream. But I think we made this. We made this before, where I think we need to create this guy as a broadcast stream. No. Or do we maybe need to assign this? We did this already in somewhere on the server. I remember that. So let's try to find that. We were bitten by this before. And again, this is something where if you're using our RX Dart, it's a lot easier. But since we decided to not do that, let's actually find S broadcast stream. That's easier. We only have one. Game event stream here. That's it. Dot broadcast. So we need to say dot broadcast here. And then we return this. Okay, so now why is this complaint? Okay, now someone explain me why this was available on the other side, where we just looked at it. Okay, it is basically a static initializer. All right, so it creates a different one. Okay, cool. So now this should be fixed, and we can quickly try that by restarting this guy and then restarting the other guy, and then they should all be happy. Okay, now this guy, let's see, who am I here? Okay, cool. So I can shoot the other player. I can hit myself in the wall, and then the other player can also shoot me. And all right, and then I can hit the wall. Okay, so this all works now. I can see like sometimes like we're hitting the players a little bit. We have to basically fix the hit error or something like this. But okay, this was obvious. But see, like sometimes I hit him kind of almost before. We might want to make the hit error actually smaller. Yeah, so right, because sometimes we are here. This worked, but it's because we're moving. I don't know if you're moving the hit area out. Like, no, I don't think we do. We shouldn't do that. But we'll see. We'll figure that out. That's details, right? For now, we can say that we can check that game model in. And then we can say that starts fixing stream to be truly broadcast or something like that, right? Okay. So that's cool. Now, what we can do is actually have people die. So on the server, we actually need to say that if the health of the player, so we're actually going to add a really simple. We don't even need a different property, right? We can just say, is this guy dead? Right? And we can add this to the player controller, and I think that's where the correct place would be to do that. Basically what I want to prevent is if someone died, I want to prevent them from moving about afterwards. Like if they have some cheating software or something, right? And they can still move because they, even after they're dead, I want to prevent that. So basically there are two places. Like one would be, we can add that to the player controller. We can basically say when we update and the player is dead, right? So I'm gonna make a boolean here. Bool is dead, and we pass in a player model. And this can actually be a static method. It almost has nothing much to do with the controller, but it kind of helps control things. And I don't want to make it part of the model itself. I don't want to have logic in the model, except of course the packing and unpacking, which is what we need. So obviously this can be static. So we can say static. And then we can actually say, why is it even part of the control? Why don't we just make it here, put it here as a function, and then maybe we can move it out because we have some helpers here, bullet spawner, so we could add, maybe move this to there later, but for now we can say this is fine. So what we actually want to do, if the player is dead, we want to prevent it from doing anything. We don't care if it applied thrust, we don't care if it hit anything, and we don't want to move it. What we need to do though is, it doesn't matter what the velocity of the player is, right? Because we just won't apply it, right? So basically, here you can see that increase the velocity and then normalize. At some point we actually need to be moving it here, right? So all this we don't want to do. We just want to say if is dead, our player, then just return. We don't move it, right? And you can see that this is like a really simple property that could have been part of the model, but we'll leave it here. It's fine for now. And we rename it is player dead, right? Okay. Now when we do render, well, we don't render here, but when we basically player, we render that guy. We want to basically, if the player is dead, so now you can see we actually want to move this function out, right? So let's jump back to the controller and actually move this out. And we create a new file. Let's do that here in the helpers. Let's do a new file. And player properties or player state or something, right? For now. So actually what I want to do here is basically what we're doing is we're enhancing the model in a way. We could call it state. I actually want to rename it to status. And I want to actually rename this as well. All right, so basically what we'll do, we construct this guy with a player. So if we construct one, and so the player, right, we give it this, and then we say this dot player, because there will only be a player, nothing more. So this will be fine as a. All right, so. All right, so now we got this, and now we got to go back to the controller and status of player, and then we say dot is player dead, and now we can actually move this to is dead because now it is already on this thing, and now we can actually make this a getter as well. Doesn't like it. I can never remember the order of these things. Okay. So now we can just say it's dead. And now basically when we go to our player, we render it. We can use the same thing here, right? Update sprites. Well, if the player is dead, we don't want to do anything, right? Right, so we just return, and when we render, actually when the player sprite is rendered, we almost want to render it differently. We almost want to have a dead player sprite, right? So that's something that we need to consider. So we can actually just pass this in. You can basically just pass it in if the player is dead. right? And now we can go in here and we can update this to our liking. So right now, what we can do is we can maybe render this player a little smaller. It's one way. Oh, we obviously can have a different sprite. Right? Or we can just have... No, hold on. So, no, this is not... This is a general sprite. We can't do that. So we'll have to create another sprite. So this is obviously not working. So here we have a player sprite. And we're going to have another sprite called dead player sprite. Okay. And... so we get the player image path, right? And so what we'll do is, so our images are here in our assets. And what we'll do for now, we'll basically render the wall for now, just for now, to see if this works. So we're gonna have a dead player sprite, and we're gonna have a string dead player image path. All this is actually required, so we should also say so, right? So we have that, and then when we create it, we need to have that player image path assets dot wall metal dot image path. Okay, so this is obviously temporary, right? As I said. And then we say that the dead player sprite equals sprite of dead player image path. So now we got another sprite that we can render. And so now all we have to do here if the player is dead, what we're going to say is right, we're going to have the dead player sprite, or we enter the player sprite. Right? And so now, when we have our sprite, we just say sprite or render. Yes? Can remove these. Okay, I like this. I want to name it player sprite. So I want to rename this alive player sprite. And then here we can name this player sprite. Okay. So now we can player sprite render, blah, blah. It's either dead or not. And now we should actually already see this. Okay, but it doesn't make sense. Okay, yeah, because we need to actually really restart things here, because otherwise it doesn't work. So where's our other one? Okay, so this guy's waiting for players. Now this one should also wait for players once we restart them. Right, and so now we shoot the other player. Okay, it now renders a wall. Okay, then the player is dead. Okay. Now obviously, like, this is a wall that we can fly through because, okay, now this wall can still move. Okay, that's pretty awesome. So we are now a player, and we can actually rotate it. That's pretty cool, and we can actually shoot. Okay, so this is like our ghost player, right? Okay, that's not obviously all temporary, but I think it is pretty cool. We don't have thrust. I don't even know why we can still shoot, right? I mean, all these things are just like wrong. I don't understand, but we'll fix it. I think this might also be because we actually have to restart the server. Let me actually do that. let me actually, this guy I want to stop. And then I'm going to restart the server. Because I think what's happening is, did you see how it was like kind of janky? Like it wasn't moving fluid because the client actually had stopped to, actually we might have to restart all over the place. The client had actually stopped to predict, but our server, we hadn't updated yet since the code changed. So the server was still basically letting the player move and all these things. But I think that was definitely worth that funny little nugget there of a wall moving like a player and shooting like a player. But I mean, we're pretty much close. What we only have to do is have a dead player sprite. So I'm actually going to go and look for assets. Okay. And then this guy. Okay, so we got one. And the other one ended up over here. Okay, fine. So what I want to see is if I shoot this guy here. Right now it's a wall. And now I can't do it. Well, I can still rotate it. But we can't move anymore. Because rotation is sent to the server, right? And then when we sync it. I mean, maybe it's funny to still be able to move it. But you can't. And you can still shoot. Well, obviously we shouldn't be able to shoot. We can fix that. What I want to do first to kind of finish this off, I want to get an asset, and I think I had like some free asset thing here. I think it was here. What we're basically going to look for is we just basically are going to look for a skull or something like that. And this is one of the assets stores that I use that have usually free assets, and also the license is clearly shown. So I want 2D art only. It's a little tricky to use sometimes. So I want this, and I want basically. I don't want this. Basically, we want to make sure that we can use this. I think CC0 is like the most permissive. So let's try to find a skull like that. Okay. I'm not going to take too much time here to find the best skull. We're just going to put something in for now. This is going to be replaced later. Just something that's a little better than a wall. I don't know if this is kind of cool or not. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this. I don't know what I would look for. Cross, I guess. Maybe put a little cross. Well, let's call RIP, right? Rest in peace. Maybe I have to do this. Nope. Come on, can't be that hard. To grave. I just want one little thing. In the worst case, I'll just find something anywhere and we'll use it. No, it's not. Maybe I'm a little bit too. There's some of those that you basically just have to mention. You have to basically mention that you got it from there. That would also be fine. I just want to find it. Okay, we're gonna take the first skull we find now. All right. I want to move on. This is not fun watching me searching for skulls or whatever. Skull in a UFO. That's kind of funny, except that it has background, right? Yeah, it's basically, yeah, we can't use that. That has background. Yeah, this is too complicated. We don't need a full animation. We just need a simple skull. Game over, kind of. Well, but the thing is that okay, that's good enough. If this is a kind of they're really small though. Okay, let's see. Pack of medals. Yeah, this is a whole freaking sprite sheet. I'm gonna just search for this on okay, here we go. And I'm gonna use this one, and we're gonna figure later out like how we swap it out for something that is free. So it doesn't have to be that big. Yeah, you realize that actually one spends a lot of time searching for assets. Yeah, this is already too complicated. I don't want toppng.com. Oh my god. Yeah, I don't want. Okay, now we got just go away. I'm not gonna disable ad blocker for this. Okay, whatever. Let's just get it directly from Google then. Maybe I can just put this here. Let's see. Okay, fine. We'll leave it like this. How large is this? Why does it have to be so complicated? That one I like as well. Let's see if they let me look at things without having to. Okay, so skull, download, transparent clipboard. Hopefully they'll let me do this without logging into anything. Doesn't seem to be happening. Okay, no way. This is just too painful. We're just going to use this one. I don't care anymore at this point. So basically, we're going to put this. We're going to put this into our assets folder. So we're going to open this up. Assets folder, sprites, fine. And we're going to move it in there. And then we're going to rename it. And this is going to be what we're using for now. Here we go. And we'll name it skull, right? All right, so no. What happened here? I just want to move it there. I guess we have to rename it afterwards. Why can't you not move it? Why can you not move it? Oh my god. Okay, so this seems to be not our day with regards to just getting a simple skull in. So we're going to do this by hand. See how easy it was to move IntelliJ? I don't understand why you didn't want to move it. Okay, so now we got this. It has this size, 840 by 859. So now we need to update our assets. So we have those somewhere. Should be in the client, right? Assets, okay. Image assets, all right. So we have the assets. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to copy one of those friends. And we're going to, actually let's copy the player. Well, that's fine. So we're going to have that. And that's going to be a skull, right? And okay, so it's 840 times 859. So we're just going to do that. And it's one row and one column because it's just one image. Okay, so now we have the skull in, and we need to name it skull. Okay, and if I get this to work, then we'll call it for today. So now we basically just have to change wherever we are passing the thing into the player, right? Where we create this, we just have to actually take the skull. All right, and then just to be sure that everyone understands, like this is automatically imported because we're importing entire folders, right? So we don't have to update anything in our YAML. But we do have to restart everything though, because once you add assets, things are not happy unless you restart. So let's restart this guy, and we should now basically, instead of having a wall, we should have a skull. And then in the next episode, we can actually figure out how to prevent it from shooting and how to prevent it from turning. That should be fairly simple. And so yeah, and the skull is just for now, and that's why I don't even, usually what I do is I put information about where I got assets from, and so I know who to attribute if it requires attribution. But this one is really just temporarily, and so we'll remove it as soon as we find anything better. Probably won't be a skull anyways. I just want it to be a skull because it's obvious. It'll probably be something like our UFO, something maybe like a cross. We just cross it out. Or we put a small skull on top of it, something like that. So, and we're launching too because we can quicker shoot shoot the other player, right? As we can basically die quicker. So let's see. And so that was one example where, you know, it's really obvious that you don't want to spend too much time searching for. Oh no, I don't want to. No, I don't want to start on the phone. We don't want to spend too much time. Okay, Macos, why does it show the phone? We don't want to spend too much time like searching for assets because we're most likely going to replace them anyways. The player asset is okay for now, and the walls probably will keep, but. Right, if you just need something to try something out, just get the functionality in, and then when you have some free time, and you can always still search for an asset. But like to just show the gameplay and how it will work, having like a really ugly skull will actually work. Okay, yeah. So we forgot to load the assets. So okay, let's stop this guy. We have to restart in a second, but we have to actually here load the asset. Skull.image pass. All right. That's unfortunate. Now we have to restart everything, but that's sometimes how it goes. And I don't know if you remember, but this is a thing that we wrote, and we actually made sure that whenever you're trying to get an image and it hasn't loaded at game startup, we'll give you a warning because we don't want to load things dynamically. It just doesn't work very nicely. And so we did it this way. And at least we got an early warning and not somewhere down the line. Okay, so we got both our things launching. All right, and should come up here in a moment, and then we can just shoot the other player, confirm that we're getting a skull that will shoot and rotate. But that's all. And then basically all we have to do in the future is whenever we switch out, when we find a better one, we can just basically switch that out and just enter the different, maybe it has a different size, we just update that. And you can see OBS is again giving you problems seemingly. So okay, now let's shoot this guy here. It's a skull. All right, cool. And we can see it rotates and it shoots. It can shoot us. It's just hard to see. Okay, so we can actually shoot the other player now, which will also become a skull. Perfect. So we are converting players to skulls when they're dead. That's what we wanted to do for now. And in the next episode, we'll prevent, obviously, players from shooting and rotating when they're dead. And what I also wanted to work on is, basically like having a game over screen for the player that's dead. Having another way to maybe reconnect, something like that. But for now, we're just going to have the game over. And then obviously another thing that we might want to do is, as you can see, I can't easily just keep shooting. I can't easily apply thrust. Obviously now you can see that. But I wanted to maybe have some indicator of how we are doing with regards to thrust. But I'll see what is more important. And that's the end of the episode for today. I'm going to check these changes. I'm going to tag it, and then you can look at the changes, how they were applied. So thank you for watching. Make sure to watch the next episodes, and bye.